So as promised, we're going to finish going through the prime directives of the unconscious mind. So on Tuesday, I spoke about 10 of the prime directives of the unconscious mind. And today we're going to go through the next 10 of them. So number 11 is that it controls and maintains all of our perceptions. So the unconscious mind receives and transmits perceptions to the conscious mind. So anytime we want to increase our ability to perceive, we work with the unconscious mind. So 12, it generates, stores, distributes, and transmits energy. Now, the unconscious mind is in charge of the generation, the storage, the transmission, and the distribution of energy throughout our body. So if someone comes to me and they want increased energy due to symptoms of fatigue, I call in the unconscious mind and I encourage the unconscious mind, and it creates an opportunity to increase the amount of energy, and the symptomology of that can certainly be reduced dramatically. It maintains our instincts and generates our habits. So the unconscious mind is in charge of our instincts. So instincts include our flight and fight response. So that is an instinct. So the unconscious mind will simply kick in and you'll either get out of the way to safety by running, or you'll stay there and you'll fight and hopefully be safe in that situation as well. In addition, the unconscious mind actually generates habits. So there can be good habits and there can be bad habits, but the unconscious mind is in charge of generating those habits. So number 14, it needs repetition until a habit is installed. So traditionally we're told it takes about 21 days to change a habit using mindfulness and effort. Changing strategies using NLP techniques, such as a swish pattern, are really effective in changing habits by themselves, and the unconscious mind doesn't actually need a lot of repetition if we're using NLP to change a habit. So 15 is programmed to continually seek more and more. So the unconscious mind is programmed to continually seek more and more, which means there's always more to discover, and that's a universal truth. So it's a really important function to understand in the context of substance abuse, where the individual begins with a little bit of whatever substance it may be and then begins to take more and more of it. The unconscious mind's function is by comparison, and each time it looks for a little bit more and more and more. So 16, it functions best as a whole integrated unit. Imagine that. So what it means is it doesn't actually need different parts to be able to function. So we talk about this also under the presuppositions that I spoke about a couple of weeks ago, that all procedures should increase wholeness. So the best thing is to have an integrated wholeness at an unconscious level, not fragmented into parts. So anytime that we have a client that comes to us with incongruent parts, then integration is always the answer. So 17, this is actually quite important. The unconscious mind is symbolic, and this also plays into the presupposition that the map is not the territory. So it uses and responds to symbols. So Carl Jung was a really great writer in psychology, and he wrote a book that was called Psych and Symbol. And he was one of the very first people to point out that the unconscious mind thinks in symbols and uses symbols and responds to symbols. And it's also important with regards to a person's personal history. If we take personal history from a person and we ask them questions about their past, it's really important to remember that the unconscious mind may get what it gives us may be symbolic and not actually the event or item which is represented. So 18, The unconscious mind takes everything personally. And this is the basis of perception, is projection. The unconscious mind takes absolutely everything personally. So every time you look outside of yourself and you point the finger outside of yourself at somebody else, the unconscious mind thinks that you're thinking that of yourself. So wrap your head around that one. So the unconscious mind takes everything personally, and this is a real double-edged sword. So it's actually a good thing and a bad thing. It's good if you can get control of your thinking. So 19, the unconscious mind works on the principle of least effort. This is the path of least resistance. The unconscious mind will do as little as possible to produce the results that you ask for. If you remember Prime Directive 8, which is to preserve the body, the unconscious mind is inherently lazy and it will do the bare minimum that is required to get the result that you want. And it's important because it means we need to be really specific with the unconscious mind when we're instructing it to make any change. And 20, the unconscious mind does not process negatives. So if I say to you, don't think about a blue tree, in order for you to process that sentence linguistically, you have to think about a blue tree first before you don't. So just like teachers say to kids, don't run or don't talk, what they're actually doing is they're giving that child an embedded command to talk or to run, because the unconscious mind does not process negatives. It will only process what comes after the don't or whatever the negation happens to be. So your unconscious mind is the part of you that learns, not your conscious mind. So you may have thought that you learned consciously in the past. And although your learning does pass through the conscious mind, it's your unconscious mind that actually remembers everything. Everything once learned is stored in the unconscious. So treating your unconscious mind with respect, with gratitude, and with understanding allows us to more congruently achieve the results that we want. Now, join our live Q&A next Tuesday, and we'll explore these prime directives of the unconscious mind in more detail, and happy to answer any questions that you have. See you then.